Hello and welcome to the Sex Within Marriage podcast. I'm JD, marriage educator, coach, writer, and podcaster. And at uncoveringintimacy.com, we offer a wide range of resources to help couples strengthen intimacy in all areas of their marriage. And we haven't done a roundup of our anonymous questions for a while, so today we're going to do that. These are actually questions going all the way back to January of this year. For those who are new, these questions come from our anonymous Have a Question page. They have no contact information, so we only get whatever they put in the text box, as we can't reach out to them for more context. I posted the questions in our supporters forum where they were discussed and eventually became a blog post and this podcast episode. So if you have a question of your own that you can't find an answer for or are too afraid to ask anywhere else, you can ask it there or join our supporters forum where you can ask anything you want anonymously as well, but be able to interact with people as they try to answer and help you, myself included. But for now, we're going to get on with these questions. Question 1 is a short one. Simply, do most guys enjoy cunnilingus after ejaculation? So for those who don't know, cunnilingus is oral sex on a female. And something we've added recently to the website is a glossary. I've been working on adding terms to it. One of them is cunnilingus. And if you ever have a term in our blog that you come across and don't know what it means, I'm trying to add them all there. If you go to the website under resources, you'll find a glossary there and it lists all the terms as well as links to any podcast or blog post where I mention these things. Now, I just started on it. I built a tool to help me add terms and it will actually rifle through my database of posts and pull them out and link to them automatically. But I need to spend time just being there, adding terms and trying to go through my posts and figure out what's in there that needs to be added. If you have a term you want added, just shoot me an email and I can do that quickly and easily. We hope this will be easier than trying to Google things because Googling some things is a bit scary. So moving on to the question, do most guys enjoy oral sex after ejaculation, like performing oral sex? I don't have any stats on this, I'm afraid. I could not find a survey on it anywhere, nor have we asked that question in any of our surveys. I do know that some men definitely do enjoy it, and often quite passionately. Some have been very not shy about sharing just how much they like it and how much their partners, they're not always married, also enjoy receiving it. There is another group of men who want to but don't, either because they're afraid of judgment from their partner or they errantly believe that ingesting their own semen while performing oral sex on their wife is somehow a homosexual act. And there's another group of men who want to, but as soon as they ejaculate, suddenly they lose interest, likely because of the phenomenon where what you think is distasteful changes before and after orgasm. And then, of course, there are those who have no interest for a variety of reasons. And if I had to guess, it would be that most men haven't ever tried for a variety of reasons, and so have no idea if they enjoy it or not. But I will try to ask this question the next time we do a survey on oral sex. All right, question 2 is, my boyfriend is really into oral after anal. Really into it. I'm not sure where I am on this. Feels degrading. Wonder if I'm overthinking it. Seems like a common thing. Am I being too uptight to not try it? Okay, so first off, you should never do anything you're uncomfortable doing. It doesn't matter if it's common, it doesn't matter if you think you're overthinking it, and I definitely don't think you should do anything you feel is degrading. I think anyone who is pressuring you to do something you feel is degrading isn't being very loving. Now, that said, I do think there are times when it's appropriate to check your feelings and see if they're valid, as this woman is doing. In this particular situation, yeah, there are a lot of reasons not to. Number 1 is you're not married, so you shouldn't be having any sort of sex, vaginal, anal, oral, or oral after anal. Number 2, there are definitely health risks and concerns with oral sex after anal. There's a chance of E. coli and other bacterial transfer. These can cause infections and dysentery. There's a risk of parasitic and viral infections and more. Now, because it's your own gut bacteria, it's less risky than if it were, say, someone else's, but there's still a risk. As well, you can then go on to kiss your boyfriend, which then extends the transfer of your gut bacteria and everything else possible to him, which he will not have as much of a defense against. Either way, this is considered a health risk. Number 3 is anytime you do something you feel is degrading, you damage your own self-worth. If you are willing to do things that degrade you, you will find your self-valuation degraded, which can cause depression, low assertiveness, and more, which will cause problems throughout your life. And number 4, as far as I know, this isn't that common. It's common in porn, but that's not the general public. So no, I don't think you're being too uptight at all. All right, moving on to question 3, regarding high/low drive spouses. Have you been the high drive and consistently been rejected for years? Have you had your feelings explained away by the suggestion you should just accept a substitute for sex for real intimacy? Yes, yes, and yes. Here's what we learned and implemented to turn things around in our marriage. And all of these are going to have a links in the show notes to tell you more about them. Number 1 is learning about responsive versus spontaneous desire. 2 is my wife adopted an attitude of being willing to be aroused. Number 3 is learn her to turn her on, either dirty talking, massaging, toys, all help. As a couple, don't put the low drive spouse in charge of something that they have no innate desire to do, like sex. Number 5 is be okay with duty/obligation/sex for you. 6 is have sex frequently, at least twice a week, so you can get better at it. And number 7 is figure out when it's a good time to have sex. Men tend to be best first thing in the morning. Women tend to be in the afternoon hormonally. Almost no one is at their peak in the evening. And the later/more tired you get, the worse you do. Lots of couples have kind of like a cutoff time where they will not initiate/agree to sex after a certain time because it's late and they're tired and they need to get up in the morning. Now, some of these the high drive spouse has to work on, some of them the low drive spouse has to work on, and some of them you do together, but it has to be tackled as a team. All right, question 4 is, I know my wife admires me. I know she loves me and I her, but when she admonishes me and gives me words of affirmation, I have a hard time taking them and valuing or trusting them maybe. I feel like it's hard to take them to heart because of her not putting her loving effort into our physical relationship, whether it just be physical affection or sexual encounters. We have talked about my desire for her to put some thought and effort into physical affections, but we haven't experienced much after effect from those conversations. Any thoughts on how I can take her affections wholeheartedly or anything else I'm not seeing? Thanks. So first off, I'm not sure if you meant admonish or something else, because admonish means to reprimand you. Affirm, encourage, etc. seem to fit better, so I'm going to guess it's something like that. Anyways, my guess is you're conflating 2 things. 1 is her love for you, and 2 is her desire for sex. And this is pretty common because for men, a lack of sex causes a depletion in oxytocin, which makes you feel emotionally insecure and unloved. It's not that she doesn't love you, it's that you don't feel like she does. And that's why you're having a conflict between what you know and what you feel. And I talk about this in my course for Christian wives, where I share with them that when your husband is constantly initiating sex, what he means is, I miss you and I feel disconnected and I'm scared that our relationship is drifting and that you don't love me. And I want to feel connected to you, to bond with you so that I can feel safe and secure in our marriage, so that I can feel what I know, that you love me. And every time I run a webinar and share this, I have wives in tears because they now realize that it isn't just about sex. It's about connection for their husband. But it shouldn't take me teaching this for them to know. Ideally, we teach husbands to share things like this on their own, so I don't have to play translator for the wives. So I would suggest communicating in that way. Will it help? I don't know. I don't know your wife. The wives I'm talking to in my webinar are there because they want to change. They want more. They want better. They want to do their part to make it an amazing marriage. And so they're open, willing, and primed to take this in. But you can't force them to do that. For your side, I would say keep communications open. Let her know you miss her and that you're feeling unloved. Explain that it's chemical and that you're struggling with this. In the meantime, it may help to know that it doesn't mean she doesn't love you. She just doesn't have the same sort of sex drive that you do. And I'd recommend the previous question on how to start making changes in that area of your marriage. All right, question 5 is, hi, my husband and I have been married for almost a year, and our sex life has been simply incredible. We have been communicating about our sexual desires and fantasies since we were dating. I'm not going to get specific, but these are all monogamous, safe, and pleasurable without pain for both parties when done properly. I don't find any of the things he wants gross, degrading, or objectionable. In fact, most of them sound quite fun. Since we got married, we have mostly focused on quote-unquote more normal activities. And those have been insanely pleasurable for us. Earlier today, I suggested we start exploring and that we should practice X technique. My husband responded that it's wrong, that he wants X. As I already mentioned, I don't agree it's degrading, and I want to do X with my husband. My husband, like almost all men in our generation, has had a problem with porn, but has always been very upfront with me about it. He has been clean since we got engaged. I never thought bad of him for it. I had sex with previous partners and watched porn myself on occasion. Neither of us are perfect. I think my husband feels guilty about his past. How can I help him feel okay about his desires? I want our bedroom to be a place where we both feel the same to explore together. So a common struggle in marriages that have been impacted by porn is trying to decide if what they desire is there due to porn or if it existed before porn and that's why it was so easy to be tempted by it. If porn amplified or twisted their desires, or a mix of all the above. And then what is the right response to this? How do you deal with this in your life? Do we avoid all things in porn? That doesn't leave anything left. There is literally porn about everything. Now, the best answer I have to this is sex should be loving. Really, that's the summary of every rule, commandment, law, etc. in the Bible. As Jesus said, tying the entirety of the Old Testament and New Testament together, love God, love your neighbor, love yourself. And Paul echoes this. Love is the greatest of all the fruit of the Spirit. So, is what you want to do loving? Now, that's where people get into disagreements. And that's fine because people are individuals. We might individually disagree with each other or as a couple disagree with another couple. This is why we have a BDSM section in our forum that is opt-in because some are perfectly fine with it and others are not and don't even want to see the discussions. And that's okay. If your husband is uncomfortable with it, then don't force him to do something he doesn't feel is loving. If you're uncomfortable with something, then don't agree to do it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't discuss it, but if the discussion becomes unloving, then drop it for a while. We have had many things in our marriage that one is brought up and the other might have been uncomfortable with at first, both in and outside of the bedroom. We've learned not to nag. Either they will come around or not. It can be brought up again later, sometimes days, weeks, months, years, even decades later. Some things change, some don't, and that's okay. There are so many things a couple can do that we don't have to agree on all the things a couple could do. Other than that, honestly, sometimes we just need to hear it from someone else. Talk to a trusted friend that won't say it's okay just to make you feel better, who will tell you if you're wrong. If you can't find anyone, you can book a free discovery call with me. I will 100% tell you if I think something is a bad idea. And we can have a discussion on why I think that, and you can either disagree or agree. All right, question number 6 is, I'd like to explore BDSM. My wife has no interest in trying it. Is it better just to focus on what I have sexually and bury my desires to try and bring it up every so often to see if she has changed? Or is there a third option that has a better response to her lack of interest in BDSM? Thanks. Probably a third option. Talk about what it is about BDSM that you're looking for and she's opposed to. There are lots of flavors of BDSM, even in a Christian worldview. It's a pretty large umbrella term. So much that in our survey on BDSM practices, a large number of people said that they don't practice BDSM and have no interest in it, while simultaneously reporting that they're engaging in activities that many would consider BDSM activities. For example, if you're thinking, I think it would be fun to try a blindfold, but she's thinking he wants to use chains to tie me down and whip me, those are worlds apart. So be clear on what you're talking about from both sides, because I have no idea exactly what you mean or are looking for based on this question, so likely she doesn't either. All right, question 7 is really long. I've decided I'm going to just kind of summarize it. If you want to read the entire question, you can go to the blog post and read it there. This listener wrote in with a deep and honest question. How do we restore real excitement and passion in our marriage and sex life? And they've come a long way from early marriage struggles with frequency and emotional disconnection to rebuilding trust after past mistakes, including pornography and unhealthy exploration. Now they're having sex more regularly, they're on the same page, and their marriage is stable and loving. But something is missing. It feels more like cooperation than connection, like two friends helping each other achieve orgasm, rather than lovers who are passionately drawn to each other. And there's very little spontaneous desire, little aftercare, and not much of that kind of magnetic pull that once existed. Fantasies still creep in, and while they love each other deeply and faithfully, they wonder, can sexual desire be rewired? Is this a spiritual battle? Are we broken from past porn use? And I think this is an incredibly honest and important question, one that a lot of couples quietly wrestle with. So I'm going to try to unpack this, but if you want the full context and details, head over to the blog post linked in the show notes. So for this couple, I think that's awesome that you went from infrequent sex to frequent but mediocre sex. That's a step up. But yeah, definitely not where you want to stay. If you've become efficient at sex, that's handy at times. However, efficiency isn't erotic. It's the opposite. It's proceduralized and mundane, which is not sexy at all for the vast majority of people. And that's because there's no risk. You know exactly what's going to happen, when and how they're going to respond, and what the result is. Adventure is exciting, the not knowing, but too much not knowing is scary for some. So you have to know your limits, and that's going to depend on the person. And frankly, that's what my sexploration list is all about, that you can discuss the boundaries of what's okay and what's not. And ideally, you come up with a large list of things that are in bounds. And when you have a large repertoire, then you can add variation. And the more variation you add, the less routine / predictable / mundane / efficient / boring things will be. Because right now, you're likely having sex that's kind of initiation, foreplay, maybe penetration, orgasm for him or her, then orgasm for the other one, maybe clean up, go to sleep. And that's a pretty normal, standard kind of maintenance sex type routine a lot of people fall into. And if you're like, yeah, but what else are you supposed to do? Then you're so far in this rut, you don't realize that there are other roads anymore. And someone asked me in our forum once, hey, what does sex kind of look like for you? And I went through an example of what we did in one night. And I'm not going to repeat it here. If you want to see it, you'll have to join the forum. But for example, we don't have foreplay. We just have play. Manual oral penetration can happen in any order and repeat in any order. We will change positions a half a dozen times. We'll need water breaks, bathroom breaks, catch our breath breaks for over a couple of hours. We'll play. And we might use toys, we might not. There might be one toy, there might be full-on bondage gear, multiple toys, blindfold, nipple clamps. The point is, she has no idea what's coming. And I'm like a kid at an amusement park that's so varied, there's no way you could do every ride in 2 days, let alone in 2 hours. So I don't really have a plan going in either. I just do things as they present themselves or as they come to me. Or sometimes I do make a plan and then execute it. And it's that adventurousness, the unknowing that like, I don't know if she's going to be okay with this today, but I'm going to try. And her, what's he going to do to me? That makes it exciting because there's an element of risk and surprise to it. And that's what our sexploration list is for. Not so that you can have a kinkier rut. It's to give you so many paths that you don't make a rut. So switch things up, try different orders, loop around to the beginning and start again halfway through, slow down, pick an activity or 5 and work them into the play for the night. There are so many options, but ultimately it's the adventurousness of it, the risk, that's what makes it exciting. All right, question 8 is, in a comment on your How Do You Know If You're Sexually Compatible article, you stated, I think marrying in your early 30s is too late. Ideally, you want to be finishing up having kids by that age. I agree with the first sentence. My wife and I were married before we were 20, and we pray that our children will be able to find spouses while young, but I take issue with the second. Why is it ideal to be finishing up having kids in your early 30s? When, why, and how should we decide to cut ourselves off from God's blessing with children? He references Psalm 127. I'm not an adherent to quiverful movement, but I see nothing wrong with continuing to have children into your late 30s or, gasp, even your 40s. I know multiple large families, 6+ kids each, that have allowed the Lord to bless them with children well beyond your ideal cutoff at 33. I see nothing unwise nor ideal in doing so. All right, so I think it's ideal from a practical standpoint to marry young and have children earlier. The older you get, the harder it is to conceive, the risks of pregnancy increase for both the mother and the child, and recovery tends to take longer. Male fertility declines too, sperm count, motility, and morphology all drop off with age. On top of that, raising young kids takes a lot of energy. I had the bulk of mine in my late 20s and early 30s, and even then, it was exhausting. I can't imagine going back-to-back babies in my late 30s and 40s. The simple reality is that the ideal biological window for childbearing is your 20s to early 30s. That's not just opinion, it's well-known and well-documented science. That said, none of this means you can't or shouldn't have children later in life if that's where life takes you. But I do disagree with this modern trend of intentionally delaying marriage and family without a compelling reason. Children are a blessing, and it makes sense to welcome that blessing while you are at your best physically and energetically. All right, and then I got 4 questions that all were pretty close to the same. They are all basically asking for more information on oral sex, manual sex, mutual masturbation, and I thought that they were all from the same person because they all came in pretty close to each other and had the same feel to them. Now, there is a survey on mutual masturbation from a decade ago when we were just starting out. It only had 155 respondents back then, so I agree. Let's redo it and expand it and ask all the extra questions that we want. But I'm going to need everybody's help. When you see it, I'm going to need you all to fill it out. I'll get started on it and hopefully we'll have it out soon, but I want a lot more than 155 responses this time, 1,000 at least. And that's all the questions for today. Now, if you missed it, if you're not on our mailing list, you should join. There's a link in the show notes to do that. But last week we put out a review of a toy called The Fairy by Lovence, and frankly, it was a lot of fun. And if you've been looking for kind of like a remote control bullet vibe, I'd say check it out. I'll put a link to it in the show notes as well. And that is it for today. Again, if you have a question of your own, check out our Have a Question page on the website or join our supporters forum to post questions, get support, encouragement, and everything else you'd expect from an awesome group of Christians who are focused on better marriages. I hope to see you there, and we'll talk to you next time.